Alright, I got the cone.
6 to Delta coming in hot.
Alright. 5 feet to the right.
To the right?
Yep, good. You're good.
Traffic.
And...
Now 185.
Oh! Yeah, in the ring. In the ring.
You got out of
In the ring.
In the circle. Best one so far.
I'm John from Fly 8 Mike Alpha, CFI turned airline pilot turned back to CFI. Come along on my journey, flying Alaska to Florida and beyond. Last time on Fly Mike Alpha, Steph and I went and played around the mountains, did a few touch and goes on the beaches, hiked around McEwen Flats, got some awesome drone footage now that we actually have a drone, popped on over to Glacier Spit for an amazing hike back through this little forest on up to this awesome glacier, cool little beach with awesome shots of the glacier, all these icebergs floating around that had broken off, and then head back into Seldovia for an early night to get ready for the fly-in the very next morning.
And Seldovia traffic, 0X-ray Charlie, line up and wait for flower bombing run.
And Seldovia traffic. Moonlight 185 left base. 34. I don't have a flower bomb. I do have a fish I could drop.
Not the fish!
Alright, I got the cone.
6 to Delta coming in hot.
Alright. 5 feet to the right.
To the right?
Yep, good.
Cordova
You're good.
traffic.
And...
Now
Oh! Yeah, in the ring. In the ring.
You got out of
In the ring.
in the circle. Best one so far.
So after a pretty awesome flower bombing competition that guess who won, we went ahead and it was time for lunch. And what kind of fly-in do you go to that has free food, a live band, and free beer? Like the whole keg of beer right in the hangar. So it's a pretty awesome time. Alaskans know how to do a fly-in right. Steph did an awesome job putting it on. The Seldovia Fly-in was one of my favorite fly-ins that I've ever been to anywhere in the country, by far. And after lunch, it was time to go ahead, get back in the airplanes for everyone who wasn't drinking already, and have a pretty awesome STOL competition, see who could get their airplanes off the ground and back on the ground in the shortest distance possible. So no surprise, but obviously the Cubs won the STOL competition amongst all the airplanes, but we had different categories. It was pretty fun to watch, and the only thing that was more fun to watch was the camera that was still rolling on Steph's wing when she refused to ask anyone to help her push her airplane back into the parking spot, so we get to just kind of watch her try to push and laugh out loud as she slips. But after that, we cleaned up from the fly-in, got everything wrapped up, and then headed back into town to the Linwood Bar and Grill for an awesome night of food and drinks. So obviously everyone had a pretty good time at the bar that night, and the next morning, by the time we finally rolled out of bed, it was about time to go ahead and take the 170 on over to Homer, make a quick little freight run to restock the bar of all the supplies, and also get an awesome little tour of the flight service station based at the Homer Airport.
Homer radio, Cessna 2962 Delta, 60-foot rock, 1,500 inbound with Juliet.
Cessna 2962 Delta, Homer radio traffic, Cessna outbound your direction about 4 minutes ago, and another one inbound over 60-foot rock about a minute and a half ago.
Copy, 60 Delta is traffic. Homer traffic, 60 Delta entering downwind 22, looks like up number 3. Six to Delta, sure, final 22.
So once we landed in Homer, we went ahead and loaded up the airplane full of freight, and then also took a little tour of the flight service station on the field. Now, I won't bore you guys with the whole tour of the flight service station. I know some of you guys may not be into that, but if you're a pilot and you really want to know how things used to work back in the day, or how to actually fly into an airport with a flight service station on the field, and what all sort of services there are that they can provide for you, then go ahead and check out the link to that video. That is on the flight training channel. I'll go ahead and put the link in the description below once we post up that video here in a couple days on the flight training channel. Here we just like to fly airplanes, have fun, and show you guys some awesome, amazing footage. So that's pretty much the end of this episode, and it was an amazing time. The flying was incredible. The really unique thing that happened right here is I had to go back to work down in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I had to fly from Anchorage down to Seattle, back over to Charlotte, throw on a uniform and go right to a trip. Now, it was about this time getting on the airplane leaving Anchorage that I realized that's not really what I want to do anymore. And most of you guys have probably already seen the video of why I quit the airline and why I stopped being an airline pilot. That's on our flight training channel. But at this point, I was pretty much done. You know, I was just ready to be a GA pilot again and fly Cessnas and Pipers and fly low and slow across amazing, amazing places and landscapes and countryside. So I went back to Charlotte and I quit. And you'll see in the next episode that, yeah, not being an airline pilot has some drawbacks when it comes time to travel places, but the next episode's pretty sweet, and I'll show you my journey back up to Alaska, along with everything we did once I finally got back up there and had the freedom to really stay as long as I wanted and do whatever I wanted. And we started thinking now with all this freedom what we want to do next with our lives, and that led us to make this channel and start planning our trip from Alaska down into the lower 48. Next time on Fly at Mike Alpha, I have to be a real airline passenger, which is really terrible, by the way. Load up the bags, load up all the camera gear, head up to Alaska, and then blast out in Steph's 170 out through some pretty crazy weather to get out to Lake Clark Pass and fly through some absolutely amazing, beautiful, scenic mountain passes as we make our way towards Port Ellsworth.